But what I think is interesting and important to recognize is that despite all of that, and sometimes I feel like it is the clash of the titans, right? We're watching the gods fight up on Mount Olympus while us mere mortals are trying to figure out, which way the boulders are going to roll down the hill.
Mhm.
Because there's a new study from IBM that you shared that talks about the fact, and what I found fascinating about this was the juxtaposition. So it talked about how, now I'm losing it, but it was 77% of industry, this was insurance industry leaders, were saying that generative AI is going to be necessary just to keep pace, which is shocking to me. It's not even a competitive advantage, right? It's about you need to keep pace. I think that's probably wrong. I think that there's plenty of competitive advantage there, but nevertheless, that's what they think. And yet, insurance customers, their customers, only 29% are saying that they're ready to actually leverage these services, right? And so this massive divide, and I think we're seeing this. I was just talking to a former CIO friend of mine, and she was saying how she is struggling to find any CIOs that are in earnest really going down this road where they're like all in on AI. And so I think we continue to see this massive disconnect between all of this hype and massive investments and revenue, right? I mean, OpenAI has what, $3.5 billion or something in revenue now. I mean, we're definitely, there's definitely money being spent, but actually reconciling that with where is everything lining up from a business standpoint and what's actually generating value. And we've been talking about that recently too, about the need to show returns. And I think that this is why, right? Stats like this out of this report are showing us why this is a problem.
Yeah, because it is a real issue that we all know the puck is headed in that direction. AI will eventually be a big driver for service and communications capabilities. We're not exactly quite sure how yet, though. And there is a big gap in trust at this point from a user perspective because we are in this, what does Gartner call it? That trough of disillusionment associated
Yeah,
with the hype
right.
cycle. Everybody's starting to find out for the first time as they compare generative AI to their areas of expertise that it does fall short as an expert in everything other than the most technical or specialized capabilities where there isn't as much garbage on the internet. But unfortunately, in most of the areas where we live in, there has been plenty of garbage and plenty of misinformation put out on the internet and other sources that has made its way into generative AI and made it difficult for generative AI to be fully accurate without some additional retrieval augmented generation, fine tuning, some other type of augmentation, which we've talked about ad nauseum in the past. But that grounding in actual data is an important piece of the puzzle. And it, despite the fact we've talked about it a lot, it doesn't change the fact that that is hard work to actually do in reality.
Well, it's incredibly hard work, and but it's going to be the absolute necessary component to make this create value. It's also about the application of intent, and what I mean by that is going into this. Again, we've talked about this before as well, right? But going into this, knowing what you're trying to achieve, and starting with the business problem and then saying, can this technology help me solve it? And that's where I think the disconnect, right? And in fairness, part of the problem is the study questions, right? They're asking it from a technology perspective versus from the business problem perspective to begin with, because they're trying to find out, right? I get it, but that's part of the root of it. And